Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Virtual Solutions Meetup. On today's agenda, we'll discuss what's coming with the UC 2020 release. As a reminder, we're recording this meetup and post the recordings to YouTube. I will share the YouTube playlist link in the chat window, as well as on our meetup groups. We always share the recordings and you can get access there. So later on in the meetup, we'll have a section for Q&A. So if you'd like to submit questions, you can use the Q&A option at the bottom of your Zoom window and submit questions to us. So with that said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Scott to get us started.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Today we wanted to share with you the plans for our summer 2020 releases before and after the user conference this year. And thanks for joining today. My name is Scott Ottman. I should probably start there with an introduction. And we have a whole host of team members with us today that are going to share with you the work we've been doing this spring and ultimately what we'll be shipping this summer, and talk a little bit about our plans for later this year. So we have an action-packed agenda today. I want to start with a quick recap of some of the work we've been doing this spring to help communities respond to and prepare for the COVID-19 pandemic. We're then going to focus on what's coming in our release next week. Show you the new ArcGIS Solutions app, which we're really excited to unveil today to the larger community as a whole. And then give you a sneak peek of some of the solutions that'll be coming later this summer, and a new area we're working on around racial equity. And then, as I mentioned, we'll wrap up with some plans that we have for later this year and even into 2021. So let me start with just a quick refresh of the work we've been doing this spring on the coronavirus solutions. And for those of you that have attended meetups we've had earlier this spring, you know we've been actively engaged working with communities and defining new ways that ArcGIS can be applied to the pandemic. And what you'll find on the solution site now is a whole collection of solution offerings that really help your organization respond to the pandemic. And if you're fortunate enough to start the recovery efforts as well. And obviously that varies geographically where you are in this country and around the globe, because we're starting to see an uptick in cases that, you know, in states here in the United States and even in other countries. So there's a collection of solutions that are available for you to help in response activities and really help you understand how to monitor cases and communicate the impact of closures in your community. If the pandemic is impacting your business operations, there's a collection of there's a solution offering that includes a collection of information products to help you understand workforce capacity and the status of your facilities. And then as you begin to move into recovery, or maybe even reopening efforts, you'll find there's a collection of solutions available to help you expand your testing capacity and identify at-risk populations in your community, even optimize the location of testing capacity. We also have a solution available called the Coronavirus Recovery Dashboard, which allows you to tabulate recovery metrics and monitor trends. And many of those trends are keys to reopening activities in your community. And finally begin to engage some of the most impacted aspects of our community, whether that's small businesses that are trying to survive during the pandemic, or even homebound or at-risk individuals that can't go out of their homes because of the pandemic and the risks to their health. And ultimately, you want to wrap your arms around those at-risk or homebound individuals and make sure they're getting the food they need and their health is continuing to stay healthy. So know there's a collection of solution offerings there for you. You can quickly deploy them in your organization. You can configure them to meet specific needs that you have in your response and recovery efforts. And we'll also continue to monitor some of the patterns we see and the applications of ArcGIS to this problem. And you'll probably see additional solutions coming from us later this summer to help with other aspects of coronavirus. So today we're really gathered here today to talk a lot about the work we're shipping in 2 releases this summer. And I'm going to start with the June 2020 release. And this release is primarily focused on 2 key things. One, we have a collection of new solution offerings that are coming out. And The big thing we want to talk about today is the work we've been doing to simplify the deployment approach and make it easier for you to deploy the existing portfolio and any new solution offering we develop in your organization. And before I turn it over to Chris to talk a little bit about that work we've been doing on the ArcGIS Solutions app, I want to talk a minute about the enhancements that we've been making to the 3D base map solution. And the 3D base map solution is actually a new solution offering that replaces our existing local government 3D base maps, which is one of the most popular solutions we have. And this solution is really designed to help everyone go from a 2D representation of their community to a 3D representation. And the improvements we've made in this new solution make it much simpler for you to derive the 3D content for specific layers, buildings, bridges and power lines, and even underground assets that you manage in your community. And ultimately, there's a collection of tasks that walk you through the workflow to take your LiDAR information, your building information, and ultimately produce the 3D content for your community. We've also made it easier to use by increasing the quality and the number of tasks to walk you through that process. And we've decoupled the sample data so it's just easier for you to get started with your content in your organization. So the 3D base maps is a really a major improvement from what we have today in the local government base maps and our 3D base maps, and we're looking forward to your feedback on that. Now today we want to spend a few minutes talking about the work we've been doing to simplify the deployment approach. And as many of you know, for many years now, we've been delivering our solution offerings through our ArcGIS Pro based solution deployment tool. And this is an add-in that you can load into ArcGIS Pro, and ultimately you can discover and deploy solutions that are available to you in your ArcGIS organization. And that could be online or enterprise. And when you do that, you'll get a whole collection of information products, and you can orchestrate those as a comprehensive system for your organization. And we've seen a great deal of deployments with this approach, but we know we wanted to do more. And for us, this was really the first step in a larger journey of delivering the solutions with the ArcGIS products and making it easier for you to just take advantage of them in your organization. So in next week's release of ArcGIS Online, you're going to see there's a new solutions app coming. And this is really going to make it easier for you to discover the solutions that we have and deploy them in your organization. And later this year, we'll have a new solution site experience and enablement materials that'll take that experience even further. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to Chris Fox now and have him show you the work that'll be coming next week and what our plans are for this fall. So Chris, I'm going to stop sharing and let you take it from here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Scott. Okay, so as Scott said, starting next week, we will be releasing the new ArcGIS Solutions app for ArcGIS Online. The app will be available in our app launcher in your ArcGIS Online organization and will be available to all ArcGIS Online users. So when I open the Solutions app, what it's going to launch is a gallery of solutions that are available to deploy in my organization. And I can begin to look through solutions by industry, so using the industry filters here on the left-hand side. I can also do a search by keyword. So let's take a look at some of the COVID or coronavirus-related solutions that we released. With each of these cards or solutions, I can click to learn more about that particular solution. We'll provide details about what the solution is, who the intended user is of it, and what are the key capabilities included with the solution. We'll also provide a Learn More link that will link to our solutions website, where you can learn more about that specific solution, what capabilities it provides, and what are some of the key workflows. Ultimately, when you find the solution that you're interested in, you can click Get Now. So really, it's that easy. With a single click, I can begin deploying that solution in my organization. And what's happening now is the app is creating all of that content in my ArcGIS Online organization. So our small business recovery solution comes with many types of items. So there's several Survey 1, 2, 3 forms. There's some hosted feature layers, web maps, configurable web apps using Web App Builder. There's ArcGIS dashboards. Really, a solution is composed of many item types that are across the platform. And the app is able to reconstruct those and create that content inside of my organization. Ultimately, when the solution finishes deploying, you'll see the final version of the card here, and you can hover over it and click open. So that's going to take me to that solution inside my content. So we've created a new item type as well that's going to be delivered, a solution item. And it does a couple things. First, it defines all the items that are going to be created as part of the solution. But when it's deployed, it also provides me a manifest of all the items that are included in that solution. And one thing that can sometimes be challenging with our solutions, especially the comprehensive systems, is it often involves a lot of different items to make that system work. And sometimes it's difficult to understand how those items are related to each other and how they work together. So one thing that's nice about the solution is we describe not only the surveys, apps, dashboards that are delivered with it, but we also will list the dependencies. So here we have a Survey 1, 2, 3 form that's built on a feature layer view that's built on top of a feature service. And you can see the same thing in this configurable web application is built on top of a web map that's using a view and a feature service. Here's a dashboard example as well. And so these could be fairly simple or they could be pretty complex. So a map could have many layers and you could see all those dependencies. And then what you can do from here is I can click the item itself and that will link me to the item in my content. So here I've been taken to the small business listing survey. And then I can use the tools that are available in the platform to open that survey and start using it, or configure it using Survey 1, 2, 3. So let's go back to the app. I want to take a look at the Citizen Problem Reporter solution that I deployed earlier today, just to give you a sense of some of the other capabilities that are coming with the app. So Citizen Problem Reporter is one of our more popular solutions, and it's used by or it can be used by the general public to report non-emergency problems such as potholes or streetlight outages. But the solution is more than just a problem reporting. It's also a tool that local governments can use to manage the reports. So as reports are coming in, I can triage, assign them to different departments to resolve. We also include a satisfaction survey that can be sent out to the problem submitter after the problem is resolved, so you can begin to gauge sentiment about the problem reporting program. We have a dashboard that allows you to monitor the status of problem reports and ensure that you are delivering a high level of service. And then finally, one thing that we've added in the June release is we're also now bundling a hub site and initiative with this solution as well. And this hub site will come whether you have ArcGIS Hub Basic or Premium. So typically with Premium, you can have initiatives and community users and all the other benefits that come with Premium. But all hub sites are available with all ArcGIS Online organizations. So even if you don't have Hub Premium, you will get this hub site, and it can be your destination for describing your citizen problem reporting program. And here's an example of what the site looks like. So first thing we do is describe how the program works. If you are a premium organization, we encourage members of the public to join the community so that their identity is associated with the problem report and you can have more of a two-way conversation with them about their issues. We then link to how they can submit a problem report. And from this button, we're going to launch our problem reporter application. During deployment, we automatically configured everything, so the button is already hooked up to the app that was also deployed as part of the solution. We have an embedded web map. In this case, the map defaulted to the worldwide extent because that's the default extent of my org. But if my ArcGIS Online org has been set to my community's extent, the map and apps will all default to that extent as well. We've also hooked up some of the feature layers to these statistics cards. So as problems are submitted or resolved, or as surveys are completed, these stats cards will update to reflect the latest information. And we're also including a new survey as part of this solution that allows engaged members of the public to volunteer, potentially for community cleanup days, to help aid in resolving of some of those non-emergency problems that are being submitted. So you can see that the solution, when we deployed it, it gave me several apps. It gave me a dashboard, a few surveys. It also gave me a hub destination or a hub site that's all configured and ready to go. And really, at this point, I could edit my site to change some of the theme, some of the colors, update some of the text elements to brand it, to make it specific to my community. But at that point, I'm ready to share, and I can share the Problem Reporter app and the hub site with the public, and I can begin to promote this citizen problem program. So really, the app makes it easy for you to deploy all of that content ready to go, and then you can use the existing tools in the platform to configure it to make it your own. So one other thing that I want to spend a little bit of time on is to give you a sneak peek of another aspect that we're working on for later this fall, is the release of a new product page for ArcGIS Solution, a new destination. And this will be designed for you to learn more about what ArcGIS Solutions are, how they work. We support a wide range of industries, so we want to provide specific links to different industries. For this meetup specifically, the state and local government group would highlight some of the solutions that are included in that. The other thing that we'll be providing is a new resources page. So this will be a single destination for all of our documentation, help, blog posts, videos, anything that you could use to better understand what solutions are available, how you use them, and how you configure them to make them your own. And we'll also be launching a new documentation system. We're going to be leveraging the same documentation that the core products use. So you'll see a very similar look and feel, and it will be very familiar if you've used our other product documentation. And we really want to get in depth and provide more information with each of our solutions about what are the capabilities that are provided, what you get when you deploy it. And then we want to provide key information about how you can use the solution. So what are the key workflows and user personas for using the solution? And then ultimately, how do you configure the solution to make it your own? So some of the common things you might need to do to configure it after it's deployed to make it specific to the needs of your organization. So with that, I think we're going to stop there and take a few questions if we've had any.
Yeah, all right. So we saw a couple questions specific to the Solutions app. So will it have, so the new ArcGIS Solutions app, will it have the same options as the existing solution deployment tool add-in does? So like examples, use existing solutions or items, set the coordinate system, etc.
So to simplify the user experience and not require as many options, at least for now, in terms of the used existing option, we're going to try to make good decisions about whether to use that option or not. And basically, the idea is, by default, if you deploy the solution for the first time, we're going to look for items that have already been deployed. But if you deploy a second copy of the solution, it's going to disable that option and create a fresh new copy of everything. So that's the behavior of that option. For the setting the coordinate system, in the first release, we don't have that, but that is in our backlog, and we plan to support that where it makes sense to allow you to set the coordinate system of the feature services that are delivered with the solution.
And that's kind of along the similar lines of a question. So someone proposed, like, if they deployed the address data management solution, is there additional functionality available, like you just mentioned in the solution deployment tool? So generating IDs or adding values and fields, loading data.
Yeah, so there won't be those types of capabilities through the app. We will describe those things in our documentation, but I think a lot of things we're trying to do more of those types of workflows through the browser. So loading data, there's capabilities with hosted layers in ArcGIS Online that allow you to append or load data to hosted feature services. So we'll probably encourage more of those workflows. You can modify domains in the browser now. So I think we're going to leverage and document more of those workflows, leveraging the core capabilities that are already available in ArcGIS Online.
And then someone had a question about the time frame for including all of the solutions that are, or most of the solutions in the current solution deployment tool in the ArcGIS Solutions app.
Yeah, so in the first release, we will have around 26, I think, solutions across. And we're going to be making, that's going to be a big amount of work for us over the next few months of trying to port the remaining solutions into the app. And so our hope is by the end of the year that we have ported the remaining solutions into the app and everything is available there. I also didn't mention that I want to mention now. So this is available in ArcGIS Online. We'll also be working to add the app into ArcGIS Enterprise, starting at targeting the release after 10.8.1. So hopefully by the end of this year, the new release of Enterprise will have the new ArcGIS Solutions app, and the solutions will also be available there in Enterprise.
And then one that I think we answered live, but I'll just reiterate: does the Citizen Problem Center ArcGIS Hub site require ArcGIS Hub Premium?
Yeah, so it doesn't require Premium. If you don't have Premium, it will create the site. Some of the capabilities that you won't have because they're not available in Premium is you won't have the follow button that's intended for community users. Events is another Premium capability. So some of the cards or elements that are included with Premium won't be available as part of a basic organization. But there is if you have Hub Basic or if you don't have Premium today, and I should clarify that everyone who has ArcGIS Online has access to Hub Basic. So it's no additional cost for Hub Basic. It comes with ArcGIS Online. If you don't have Premium and you deploy Citizen Problem Reporter, for example, you'll get a basic site. And at some point, let's say you want to take advantage of community users, there is a workflow where you can upgrade to Premium, and then you can upgrade your site to Premium so that you can take advantage of those capabilities.
And then actually one last one. So what is the user type and role required to deploy solutions using the ArcGIS Solutions app?
So it depends on the solution. You need to be able to create content. So I think the minimum base you need is a creator, and you'll be able to do most things. We look at the privileges that you have been enabled. So if you've created a custom role, you'll need for most services to be able to publish hosted feature services, and you'll need to be able, for some of the solutions, you'll need to be able to create groups and share items to groups. But if you don't have the necessary privileges, you'll still be allowed to go into the app and view the solutions. You'll be able to read the cards and read information about it. But when you hit Get Now, if you don't have the necessary privileges, it'll provide a message indicating what privileges you need in order to deploy that solution.
All right, that's all the questions.
Great. Now I think I'm going to hand it over to Chris Biscaglia to talk about the new recreation outreach solution.
All right, thanks, Chris and Scott. Go ahead and share. Can everybody see my screen okay?
That looks good, boss.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thanks, Scott and Chris again. Today, I want to show just a sneak peek of a new solution, and it's called Recreation Outreach. And Recreation Outreach is a collection of maps and apps that can be used by fish and wildlife and park staff to promote recreation opportunities within their state or community. So like a lot of people know, like over the last decade, there's been a decline in number of people going outside. On average, people are just hunting, fishing, and visiting parks less than they have in the past. So unfortunately, for a lot of those organizations that rely on fees associated with those activities, they're seeing a decline in revenue. So when you deploy recreation outreach in your ArcGIS organization, you'll be able to understand key recreation license trends, promote and market those recreation opportunities, and then share specific locations with the public. So this is the actual hub initiative that you get when you deploy the new recreation outreach solution. The first part of the site's really just kind of telling your story. It's got a nice inspirational quote. It talks about the number of open parks within your community, how many fishing spots are available, and even hunting locations. As you kind of navigate further down the site, you can actually explore individual locations. So in this case, we've embedded a map that shows all of the recreation opportunities. If I click on one of those, I get simple hours of operation, what's available at that site, kind of a high-level view of all the recreation opportunities that are available. Is there RV camping there? Is there tent camping? Are there dogs allowed? Things like that. And then just a quick little summary of the location, how big it is, what you can do when you get there. In addition to that embedded version of the recreation opportunities, you also have the ability to launch very specific locators. For instance, if you want to visit a park, there's a park locator. And if you click on that, it's going to give you a nice mobile-friendly version of the same map that'll work inside of any device. So that's kind of nice as well. If you go further on the page, we actually have broken out individual locators. For instance, the other outdoor recreation activities. So for instance, there's a wildlife area locator, there's a water access locator, which goes along with fishing and boating. And there's also ones to find an outdoor license. So many times if you're going to be visiting a park or going fishing or hunting, you need to get a license. So we actually also give you a nice focused experience to find a recreation license retailer around you. So in this case, it's going to launch that locator. I can simply click on the map or type my address in, and it's going to show me all the places where I can get a recreation license around me. If I click on one of those, it talks about the different license types that are available at that location. And what's really nice is that instead of having to click between a bunch of different applications, right within the app, I can actually find now, since I have a license to go fishing, a place to go fishing or boating. So it's kind of got that nice app integration, even though they're very focused experiences. Okay, let's go back to the hub site. If you have an existing online licensing system, we also have a Learn More link where you can just link off to that system. People can go ahead and apply online for a license as well. Same thing for the reservations. So if there's a reservation required at a certain location, you can click the Learn More link to link up to your existing reservation system. But again, a one-stop destination to get all of that information in one place. And then, like Chris was mentioning, for some of these hub initiatives, if you have premium, you can enable things like following the initiative. So once you do that, I can actually get key updates about park cleanup days. Maybe there's new trails in a park. Maybe seasonal trails have now opened since the seasons have changed, etc. You can get notifications of those things as a follower. You can also just take a look at the event calendar and see what events are happening during the year. Through a very simple kind of calendar experience here. And then if you want to really dig deep, say you're a tour guide and you want to get information about fishing catches that have happened, or even historic hunt information, you can do that. You can dig into licensing data. So one of the things that we're not going to demonstrate today, but I want to mention is that with the outdoor recreation outreach solution, you actually get a license management pro project that helps you analyze your license data. and we'll talk about that towards the end. Following up with a nice story about conservation, and then your organization's contact information. So again, you're going to want to go in here if you want to deploy this solution, is brand it for your organization. Obviously, add your logo. You can change this color scheme if you want to, but we've given it a nice green, outdoorsy kind of flavor. But you can kind of make it your own in that regard too. One of the other things I want to mention too before we move on is the other focus experiences. So we talked about finding a place to go fish. There's also a subpage specifically about fishing. So if I click on that, I'm going to get a very similar look and feel, but this is going to dig in deeply into that fishing experience. So instead of showing you the high level like recreation opportunities, it's digging into specifically fishing. So how many locations are open, how many of those locations have boat rentals available, and how many of those locations are free and don't require a fee. So 33 out of 34 are actually free fishing locations. And then it kind of talks about a little journey through the process. So you're going to first, if you're a first-time fisher woman or fisher person, you're going to want to go in and find out maybe the regulations for those sites. You may even, regulations might change too, so you might want to keep up to date with current regulations. Then you need to get a fishing license, find a fishing spot, and then even share your fishing information through a nice focused angler survey. So it's kind of a journey through that process. Again, the rules and regulations specific now to fishing. So if I click on that, I'm going to get the organization's fishing regulations. Very similar to what we did on the first kind of main page for outdoor recreation. I need to visit a licensed retailer as part of that licensing process, or maybe even do it online. And then not just all the recreation opportunities, but just the fishing ones now embedded in the experience. So I can click on a individual site and now get very focused information about the water access locations. In this case, it's a creek. We give the nice lat long if you have a GPS, which is kind of helpful. And then hours of operation based on the current time and date. And what's really nice, it talks about even the fish that you can catch at that location. So along with this locator, very focused locator, there's a nice workflow that helps you load your content into the system, including things like species information. And again, linking off to the license locator, tying that in so that if you need to get a fishing license, you can also find one near that location if you're on the way to it. And then the button down below gives you a nice focus experience on a phone. So as you're in the field traveling to that location, you can find it on your phone, get directions to it, and that's another way to experience the locator. And there's also, like I mentioned before, a nice focus angler survey. So you've already visited the location, you caught some fish. I can take an angler survey. It's going to launch a survey 123 form. It's going to ask me very specific information about me. Where did I go fishing? What date was it? Did you recommend the place? Does it need improvements? And even do things like share a photo of that location, or even your catch for the day. And since you can submit it, it won't be shared with anybody, obviously. So then the organization can kind of take a look at those results of the survey. All right, we'll go back to the site just real briefly. Again, as a premium user, you can subscribe to events or get updates. There's a frequently asked questions section at the bottom. And then again, just the standard contact info is going to flow through the site experience. So just to wrap up, and we also have those for hunting, boating, and then we also, if you're configuring the site, have a nice DIY experience for hooking up all the appropriate data layers and things you're going to need to do to configure the site, brand it for your own use, that kind of thing. So just in summary, I'll just close with what you saw is a new solution that takes advantage of ArcGIS Hub, and it also includes a series of very focused recreation locator applications. One of the other things I wanted to mention too is the things I didn't show, like that pro package I mentioned, and dashboard to help you analyze your license data, and then maybe even identify new market opportunities based on that license information. Who's buying licenses? Who's not buying licenses? Are people coming from out of state to go visit your outdoor recreation locations, things like that, or even out of country? And so that's it. That's all I wanted to show today. So thanks. I'm going to switch it over to Jeremiah and Chris, and they're going to show you another comprehensive solution for special events.
Great, thank you, Chris. Let's see here, get set up. Okay, so yeah, we're really excited to release a comprehensive special events solution next month. Now, due to the pandemic, most events obviously have been canceled, but this means that a better planning in a safe manner is even more critical as people start to reopen and plan for future events, which we are hearing about. Before I take a look at the applications, I'd like to take a moment to discuss the special event lifecycle. Typically, cities and counties, there's an event permit process, which we see in the bottom left, where an organizer that wishes to hold a 5K fun run or festival in the park will apply for a permit. And then this permit is oftentimes reviewed by several other departments, and that's really the second icon as we start to move up. So places like public works that are concerned about roads that might be closed during the course of a race, or a health department that needs to do inspections of food vendors, or public safety that might be staffing the event, they all need to review this permit information to make sure it is okay and it adheres to city standards. As we move up, there's a couple maps that will be created. The first is a site map. Basically, all the things that will be temporarily set up for a map. This might be restrooms or food vendors or the route of the race. In addition to the site map, we have an operations map, which is really where public safety resources are going to be placed and how the planning is going to be unfolded, so they're ready to support the event. So there's a lot of hands that are involved just before the event actually happens. And then when the event does happen, that's obviously where public safety, police, fire, and EMS all start to get involved in supporting the event. And they need to have real-time information on incidents and how they're going to be supporting the event. And then sharing this information with the citizens so they can look up these site maps and share information with stakeholders. It is all part of the solution. The other thing I really want to mention is this solution is a comprehensive event data management solution. We're not just working on an event as a one-off. Oftentimes, communities might have multiple events just on one weekend. So a system to manage all the events in one place and catalog all of them has been really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go through it and show you a sneak peek. We're not going to have time today to show you all the applications, but want to give you a general idea of the process. I'm going to start down here in the bottom left of the event organizer. So if I'm an event organizer, I need to apply for a permit. And this is a public-facing configuration of Survey 123 that we will provide you. And what this will do is allow the organizer to fill in information. Now, the Riverwalk Fine Art Fair is an event that they're still planning on holding in September in Naperville, Illinois. So the event organizer will come in, they'll give in some real basic information about the event, basically going to guide them through other logistical information. When does it start? Who is the main contact? And then a few pages of additional information, things like food or beverages, and a lot of contingent questions based upon if there is food or beverages, how is that going to be set up? If there's alcohol, are we going to supply an alcohol permit? So a few pages of information to collect the permit information. Now, this gets collected and it moves internal to this permit manager application. So this is an internal application that would be used by the special event coordinator, typically within a city or county. I can see that each row represents an event that has been applied for. And as my role as a special event coordinator, it's my duty to basically move this event through the process here. So if something has been submitted, I can see basic information about it. And I'm going to say it's now under review. As I move it through the process, the manager really guides me through what I need to do next. So there's several other things that pop up here. One is the site map. So the site map is another application that we're including. Now, when you first open this up, you're going to see an empty canvas for you to start drawing your site map. But we see some things on here such as food concessions and restrooms, event parking area. But what we're providing is just a real basic template. This is an art festival, so I might want to come in and add in another tent. So I'll say Fine Art by Betty and just add that location to a location on the map. So that's really all that I have to do to start adding the information on the map and start adding these additional features on the display. Again, a template for really all these features are going to be set up temporarily just to support the event. It's a pretty comprehensive list of routes and areas to really help you create this individual sitemap. Again, the sitemap is going to be unique to the one event that you are working with. After the sitemap has been completed, I might want to move this through the process and notify that the sitemap has been complete. And again, I'm going to see additional buttons pop up. Due to timing, I'm not going to go through the event review process, but I will point out one additional map is this editing the operations map. This is something that you could send to typically someone within public safety, a safety planner, where they will open up an application that looks much the same. Again, this is focused just for the one event that I'm looking at. But this is for my operations. What is the city or county going to be in charge of operationally? Now, we've got a lot of feedback for, what is it going to take to hold a safe event in the time of the pandemic and making sure that we're doing it safely. So in addition to public safety resources, we've added a lot of health-related information. So things like PPE stations. So if I have a food concession area, I might want to add in another PPE station and give it a description for PPE next to food vendors and add that to the map real quickly. Other information such as doing temperature screenings as people enter the event, testing locations or hand sanitizers. We also have lines for plexiglass shields or an isolation transport route. So if someone has a high temperature, where do you direct them after that so they don't go into the event? We have a couple other areas too. Some of the feedback we've got about people eyeing events in the fall is not just to let everyone that might enter the event all in for free flow, but rather to segment and have defined areas. So this might be a roped off area where I can say, I'm going to add in a viewing area for my art. So I'll just type in viewing area 1, and I'll give it a max capacity. Say maybe we'll let about 200 people in there. What I'm getting back is a real quick label on the display that will say what my square footage is and how many people could fit in there based upon social distance guidance. Basically having 6 foot apart, how many people could we still have in there? We have a pretty large number, so maybe I want to bump this up. In reality, there's going to be structures inside there, so you probably want to use something smaller than the number based upon that is provided to conform to those other structures. So we put a lot of thought and got a lot of feedback from various communities about what they're looking to have for these health assets to make sure they're holding a safe event. As we grow down, though, we have other operational that really fit into all the workflows before the pandemic. Where am I going to have roadblocks to block off streets? Where are my resource assignments going to be? So maybe I'm going to have a fire truck that's going to be outside of a roadblock area by one of the blocked off roads. I can give basic information about a point of contact, unit ID, radio channel, and quickly add that asset information onto the display. There's other tools in here to help me with the planning process, but I just wanted to give you a taste of how we can start to quickly create some of these site and operations maps. So again, don't have time to really go into sharing with the citizens or going over the permit review process, additional applications for that. But at this point, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to switch it over to Chris Delaney, who is going to talk about what happens on the day of the event and how do we manage those incidents. And in addition, a little bit more into what we're doing around the opening up safely in the time of the pandemic.
Thanks a lot, Jer, and good afternoon, everyone. So as Jer mentioned, the special event solution really includes kind of 2 sets of capabilities. The first capability, as he showed, is around the planning process. The second set of capabilities that I'm going to show very quickly is around managing the safety and security of an event, really from a public safety perspective. And so we have a series of apps to support that workflow. And the very first step in that process is the ability to generate a event-specific series of operational apps to support public safety personnel at that event. So to do that, we've really tried to make that as simple as possible. We're using ArcGIS notebooks to do that. So the idea with this is you take a spreadsheet that reflects a roster with named users for your event that you're going to be working. You load it into your ArcGIS Online organization, and then you run this notebook. And then that's going to enable you to spin up a fresh set of apps for each event. And so those apps would include things like a dashboard specifically for that event. And I'll show that in just a minute. But also, so that dashboard is going to bring together all of the situational awareness capabilities that you need to manage that event. It's also going to spin up a track view for Tracker for ArcGIS so that all of your public safety staff can be tracked in real time. And it's also going to bring together things like living atlas layers like the World Traffic Service and weather services. It's going to give you the ability to dispatch and self-initiate incident reports, so problems that might be happening on the event site. Some agencies prefer to handle that kind of work locally instead of through their PSAP. So between Workforce for ArcGIS, that's going to give you the mechanism to create new incidents and dispatch them out to your field staff. And using Survey 123, it's going to give you the ability to self-report. If you're an officer, an EMT, self-report information from the field and have that pass back into the dashboard in the command post for that event. When the event is over, we've also built in some capabilities to support after-action reviews of that event. So the ability to rewind the event, essentially, to understand when events happen, incidents happened, when you had where people were during particular points in time during the event. And then if you did have the need to kind of reuse events from year to year, so the idea being the marathon event plan is the same this year as it was last year. The idea that I could, hey, just reuse last year's plan for this year, a notebook that helps you do that as well. Now, as Jer mentioned, the issue with special events relative to COVID-19 has kind of fundamentally shifted the way that many municipalities will approach special events in the future. And we've had to adjust our this upcoming solution to account for that new reality. And in doing some of that work, Jer showed you, for example, the new social distancing crowd planning tools that are built into the special event solution. We learned that there are a number of very common sets of capabilities that are needed to support not only health, safety at a special event, but also for all sorts of different kinds of sites and facilities. So we'll also be releasing in July a new solution that's called Coronavirus Site Safety. And so this is a collection of maps and apps that are really going to follow a similar pattern to the special events solution, in that it's going to help someone who's responsible in an organization, like a health safety officer, to plan a health safety plan for a particular facility or site or location. So tools to build out that plan, to manage specific location plans if you're like on a campus and you're managing multiple campus locations, downtown campus, satellite campus, etc. And then the same kind of editing tools that you see in the special event solution, helping you to understand where to place PPE, hand sanitizers, hand washing, where high touch locations are, and to be able to do some of that crowd planning around socially distanced areas and lines, and to share that information out with your users. It's then going to enable your health safety officer to manage the operations of that plan in real time, whether that's enabling your field staff to do things like report out compliance problems relative to your health safety at your site, or whether that is to enable people who are at entry and exit points for a store or a corralled area where you need to control the number of people coming and going, the ability for you to be able to take and track in real time that information. And then lastly, where you have things like high touch locations, the ability for your janitorial staff to keep track of where high touch locations are being cleaned or disinfected. In the example of PPE stations, being able to monitor the status of how much PPE is at that station. And so in that way, when you have a dashboard like this, it's going to enable that health safety officer to be able to really have a comprehensive mechanism for keeping an eye on the issues that may come up with respect to a health safety plan in an organization. And the one thing that I wanted to highlight from a demonstration perspective specifically that is new for us on the solutions team, we'll be releasing as part of the solution, as I mentioned, a crowd counter application. This is a configuration of App Studio that you'll use using the App Studio player that combines two sets of ArcGIS capabilities. First, on the bottom, you've got a quick capture capability so that a user could, on the fly, as people are coming in or out of an exit, keep track of the number of people that are doing that using these big fat buttons. But then on the top, the ability to have a dashboard element to track in real time the number of users that are coming in and out of those locations so that that person can see in real time how many people they have in the area that they're responsible for, and then in turn that information trickles up to a larger dashboard that enables a health security officer to manage in real time the number of people that are currently in a location relative to the max capacity of that location. So I'm running a little short on time. That solution, as well as special event solution, is coming at the July release, but there's also some other really interesting work that we're starting to tackle, particularly around the challenge of racial equity in communities. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott Ottman, who's going to talk a little bit more about that now.
Thanks, Chris. And I guess while I'm switching over, there was a lot of interest in the work that you and Jeremiah showed. And I think, one of the things I guess I'll say to everyone is if you're really I know many of you are thinking about how, these events may be operated in your community. If you are interested in getting a deeper dive into what Chris and Jared just showed, just connect with those guys or connect with one of us and we'll get you to those guys. And they've been showing this to communities across the country and getting feedback as we've developed it. Obviously, one of the challenges with the coronavirus site security is that everyone's kind of figuring this out as we go right now and kind of making up their procedures and processes. So we'd be glad to connect with you even before it releases later in July to talk about it more and to maybe even get you an early release of it if possible. And if you guys want to help prototype it and refine it with us.
And a great use of that, we could use the meetup.com groups, so you can message us there if you don't have our contact info, just so if you ever like, hey, I don't know how to get a hold of you guys, meetup.com.
Just send us another meetup, right, man. Hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. So I just want, in the last few minutes we have, I want to wrap up with the future plans. And Chris just mentioned we have been asked to work with a larger group within Esri on a new set of solutions around racial equity. And we've started developing some initial plans for that work. And much like many of the solutions we showed you today, we're really going to try to take advantage of all of the capabilities that exist within ArcGIS and deliver a comprehensive solution to help you address these emerging challenges in your community. So what you'll see initially on the racial equity work is a new hub initiative that's designed to help your community establish a destination for the work you're doing, and ultimately provide a launching point to other equity programs and initiatives you have ongoing. On the public safety side of the house, we're looking at how we can use ArcGIS to help with more transparent policing, to understand where police operations may be biased, and even how the use of force is applied in your organization. One of the things you'll see us also do is enhance our existing police or law enforcement public engagement applications and deliver a whole new police transparency initiative that leverages those solutions and really enhances and provides a very modern transparency destination for your police department. Chris Fox on the team has been working with King County, Washington for some time now on a new equity lens. that will help you understand whether the actions you're taking within your government, whether that's capital investments and other programs or financial investments we're making, are creating more equitable conditions throughout the community. And finally, we're starting to look at how we can promote minority-owned businesses and create economic and inclusion opportunities for those businesses, and ultimately promote the rich cultural resources you have in your community. Much like the coronavirus solutions, we're also going to create a new destination on the solution site to really highlight these solutions as we release them, so you can quickly and easily find them in your organization. So let me share, the other thing obviously coming up in the next couple of weeks is our first virtual user conference. And hopefully many of you will join us at that event and watch many of the recorded sessions and participate in the live Q&A. As in years past, when we all get together in San Diego, you'll see there's a whole host of technical sessions that will dive deeper into the solutions we have. There was a few questions today on the addressing solutions. We're going to do a tech workshop on those solutions in particular. And if you haven't seen or looked at the election solutions, there's a tech workshop on that. And then we'll also highlight and go deeper into many of the COVID-related solutions that we talked about early in the presentation today. In addition to those live Q&A sessions, we'll also have a whole suite of pre-recorded demo theaters around some key topics. And you can kind of consume those at your leisure. And then ask us questions and connect with us directly on any content you might have seen there. And finally, there will be a virtual expo area where you can schedule time to connect with us individually, maybe talk more about the special event solutions Jared and Chris showed you today, or anything else that we have available in our solution offerings. So today we kind of showed you a mix of what's coming next week in the June release, and we highlighted or provided a sneak peek of some of the work we're doing for the release later in July with Pro 2.6 and an ArcGIS Enterprise release. And so kind of the second half of the presentation where Chris showed you recreation outreach and we talked about the special event and coronavirus site security solutions, those will all be coming in that late July release. The other thing we're targeting for that release is the first racial equity solution, which will be the community outreach solution. And I think there was a question that just came up on that. And so you'll see that in July with the rest of the content we shared with you today. And then looking forward, Chris Fox mentioned during the Solution app presentation that our primary goal is to get our solutions that we currently provide through the solution deployment tool ported over to the new Solutions app and make them available in that environment. And that'll be a primary focus of our work. And so you'll see many, many new solutions coming in a fall and winter release. And you'll also see that new help documentation that we showed you and gave you a sneak peek of today. But in addition to that work, we're also beginning to organize some solution offerings around some key initiatives. Community contact tracing has come up several times, and we're looking at some solutions for that. Health and safety checks as people are starting to go back to work, and maybe even enhancing the site security work even further that Chris and Jared showed you today. And then a whole host of other offerings that we're beginning to gather requirements on or already have development work underway, and we'll be just organizing around a release. And hopefully today you also saw that the combination of ArcGIS Hub and the solutions we're providing provide a really rich and powerful experience, especially on the public engagement offerings we have. And so that'll be a pattern you just continue to see, is that when we're developing solutions that really empower or engage the general public or constituents in your community, you'll see a hub site and a hub initiative to go along with that. So in closing, thanks a lot for your time today. I just want to ask that if you don't mind, please do take a minute to fill out the survey. Let us know what you thought of the meetup today. Give us some ideas for future meetups if you'd like. And with that, Matt, I think we can take any final questions if there are any, or just let everyone go nearly on time today.
So I don't see any additional questions that we had come in. If there's any that you guys want to submit quickly, we can try to get those. But if not, yeah, I don't see anything else. So, so that concludes today's meetup. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you joining us today. I put links to the YouTube playlist that we post all of our recordings. That this recording should be available next week sometime. If you'd like to submit feedback, I put the link in the chat as well. At this time, we currently do not have any virtual meetups scheduled for the summer months coming up, but we will be creating a new schedule for meetups coming out in the fall, probably starting in the September timeframe. So if you have any suggestions on that, and also look to our meetup groups where we post those and announce the meetups. And until then, goodbye.